took a long time because the drawing for this video is very big. There's about 4 sheets and each one has 2 sides, and so what I've decided to do is do it in 4 different parts, and this is part 1. And what is this video and what is this kind of series thing? It's animal lifespans, from the shortest living animal to the longest living animal. And we also have an animal in it that can live in extreme conditions, including lava, space, and water. So that'll be in part 4. So firstly, if you like this video, like and subscribe, and here are the animal lifespans. Number one, the mayfly. The mayfly is a type of insect that lives near bodies of water like ponds or lakes, and the only thing they get to do in that 24 hours of life is just find their mate, and then they just die. So it's pretty sad. And they just lay eggs and then they just die. That's how it is with most insects. Once they lay eggs, they just then die. So like female butterflies, once they lay an egg, they will then die. And spiders, when a female spider lays her eggs, she will die. And the babies will eat her sometimes. Same with crabs, the mother will die after she's laid the eggs, and the babies will eat her. So that's the mayfly 24-hour lifespan. Drone ant. A drone ant is the male ant in the colony, and they have wings, most of them, and what they do is to help make the babies with the queen ant. And they can also fly, and if you want to know a bit more about drone bees, nothing got related to a drone ant, but drone bees in my bee video. Advertising. So they live either about 3 days or to a few weeks. So then the male mosquito, which does not drink blood, males don't drink blood, they live about 1 week. So the males don't drink blood, and they're usually quite a bit smaller than the females. And we'll get into why mosquitoes actually drink your blood in the first place. And they don't even drink it actually, but I'll tell you about it when we get to the female mosquito in a minute. So the housefly, they live 15 to 25 days. You've probably seen a lot of these in your house in summertime, unless you live in some very cold country. So the housefly, the reason they're always so hard to swat is because they have an almost 365-degree vision. So if you're coming up to them from behind to swat them, they're gonna see you because they're very big, huge eyes. They almost have a 360 view, so they can see you coming. So then the female mosquito lives 1 month. So the reason mosquitoes will suck your blood is because they suck your blood in order to feed their eggs and babies. And mosquitoes have been around since the dinosaur time, and if you've seen Jurassic Park, you'll see that Dr. John Hammond has a cane with amber with a mosquito in it, and how they brought the dinosaurs back to life in Jurassic Park and Jurassic World is they extract dinosaur blood from the mosquitoes in the amber, and then they use the dinosaur blood DNA to create the dinosaurs, in short. So the mosquitoes are very old animals. Most bugs are very old. So next is the dragonfly. The dragonfly can live 4 months. And dragonflies, just like the mosquito, they are also very old. And back in the dinosaur age, there was this huge species of dragonfly that could get huge. They were massive dragonflies. And a baby dragonfly is called a nymph, and they live in the water in ponds, and then they will crawl up onto a piece of grass, and then they will evolve wings, and then they'll fly away and start wreaking havoc on mosquitoes, because dragonflies eat mosquitoes. Bedbug, and they live 6 months, and bedbugs live in dirty beds and couches. Yeah, I don't think anyone likes bedbugs, and I like all animals. I've never seen a bedbug before. They're a species of beetle, and they're a type of parasite, which a parasite is like a flea. Nice to know. And they feed off dead skin when you're sleeping. So they're kind of eating you alive when you're sleeping. I hope you don't have bed bugs, because they're eating you alive when you sleep. Technically, kind of. Moon jellyfish. They can live 18 months, and the moon jellyfish is the most famous kind of jellyfish. Of course, some other popular kinds of jellyfish is the box jellyfish, and the lion jellyfish, and comb jelly. Comb jellyfish doesn't look like a comb, if you're wondering. You can't use it to brush your hair. So moon jellyfish are quite small, and a good way to tell them is that they've like large little tentacles, and they have a little kind of star shape on the top of their head. And of course, probably most people will have heard of them, most people. House mouse, and they live 1 year. So, of course, most rodents don't live too long due to their small body and fast metabolism. Or is it slow metabolism? I think it's fast metabolism. And house mouse, or house mice, they are often found in your house. If, of course, in the winter, mostly they come into your house, mostly in winter, because usually in winter time, of course, it's getting cold, and they want somewhere warm to go into and get away from the cold, like most people. Then the mole. The mole can live 3+ years. Moles are found in your garden, and they dig holes, and they don't have any eyes. Well, they do, I think, but they just can't see. They're completely blind. And how they see around is by using the star-nosed mole has little kind of, its nose is in the shape of a star, kind of, and it has these little things on its nose. And
whiskers?
Not whiskers, they're like part of its nose. And it's got...
Antennae?
No, not antennae, that's a bug. And they just use it to feel around. I look crazy doing this, but that's what star-nosed moles do. And they have very big claws, which they use for digging. And they can dig about like 10 feet in like an hour, was it? I talk about moles in my Papo and Schleich toy review as well. Who knew that I'd talk about moles in a toy review? But it is Joseph's Jungle, everything's animal related. So here's the pigeon. If you live in New York, you probably see these all over the place, and in London. So the pigeon can live over 4 years, sometimes 6 years or so. And pigeons probably aren't very healthy because they eat most things that people feed them, like bread or things from the bin or something. And pigeons, the reason people do pigeon racing is because pigeons are always going to find their way home. If you have a pigeon from Canada, and then you bring that pigeon to like Australia, that pigeon will know its way back to Canada, but it would probably fall into the ocean because that's such a long flight. But going around in such a big city like New York or London, they have to be able to find their way back home. So no one knows how they do it, but people think they can recognize things. Like, say they made a nest on top of Statue of Liberty, and they go to maybe Empire State Building. Not that I know where they are, but they're both in New York, I know that. But say one of the pigeons has gone to Empire State Building, and then he knows his exact route back to the Statue of Liberty. So that's why people do homing pigeons and pigeon racing. And in World War, they strapped little notes to pigeons' feet to send messages. That's Twitter back in the day. So this is the honeybee. The queen bee can live up to 5 years, and the worker bee can live about 30 to 60 days. And I can give you all of the bee information that you need in my bee video, but I'll say maybe 1 or 2 facts about the bee here. So bees have a symbiotic relationship with flowers. So what that means is the bee will pollinate the flower. So when the bee is standing on the flower and taking the nectar, a bit of the pollen will get stuck to the bee's knees, and as it flies back to the hive or to another flower, some of that pollen will start to drop off of its leg, and that's going to plant more flowers. And bees are very endangered nowadays because of all the crazy stuff going on, like deforestation and global warming and all that stuff. So lots of animals nowadays are endangered, and bees are really important. If they go extinct, they're really important because they're what keep all the flowers and plants surviving, kind of. It's like they kind of carry some of the pollen from the flower and they just sprinkle it around the grass, and the little bits of pollen they drop will grow into a flower. Next is the red panda. The red panda can live over 7 years and is found in Asia. And red pandas are a little bit endangered due to hunting for their tail, due to their big, huge, fluffy, adorable tail that you just want to snuggle. But in my zoo, I think the red pandas are pretty stinky, but they are beside the flamingos, and birds are pretty stinky, like my chickens. Dinosaurs are probably stinky as well. So the red panda isn't a panda, but they used to be in the family with raccoons, but then people were like, no, they aren't related to raccoons, so now they're in their own family. And they eat bamboo. Next is the opossum, not possum, which it's an opossum. And you're like, Joseph, what's an opossum? What's a possum? Well, they're both marsupials, and one begins with O. No. One of them, of course, this is an opossum. These are found in North America and such. Probably if you're from Canada or America or something like that, these probably come around in your garden and stuff when it's nighttime because they're nocturnal. And these are some of the only marsupials that are found out of Australia. And a marsupial is a mammal that carries its baby in a pouch. And just because it jumps doesn't mean it's a marsupial. And opossums are often thought to be really ugly and often hit by cars because their eyesight isn't great, but their sense of smell is good. And their defense mechanism is that they'll play dead. They'll just lie on their back and pretend they're dead. So next is the chicken, which I have chickens. So the chicken can live about 5 to 9 years. Wait, is that 5? Yeah, that's 5. 5 to 9 years. So I have 5 chickens. So chickens are actually the closest living relative to the Tyrannosaurus Rex. So my chickens are like the descendants of T-Rex. Very, 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 insert 100 varies, relatives to a T-Rex.
Distant.
Distant, very distant, very. Because T-Rex was quite smart in my chickens. You could argue. So chickens, the thing on their head up here is called a comb, and the thing underneath their beak is called a wattle. And the chicken's IQ is about 4. So, well, most birds are quite smart. But you'd be surprised in how smart chickens are, because a chicken can recognize up to 100 faces in their lifetime. And a female chicken can communicate to her chicks from inside the egg. So when she's sitting on her egg and the chicks are nearing ready to hatch, she can almost communicate to them through the egg. Next is the kangaroo. Kangaroos can live 10 years, less sometimes. So in captivity they can live a bit longer sometimes, but in the wild they might not live as long. So kangaroos are the largest kind of marsupial, and a baby kangaroo can be a newborn baby kangaroo can be as small as a jelly bean, a newborn baby one. And when they're babies, their eyes are closed and they're just hairless completely. And male kangaroos will often box and kick each other in order to impress a female other kangaroo. And some male kangaroos are very, very strong. It really just depends on the size for the fights. The bigger ones usually win. And kangaroos cannot walk backwards, and they also cannot fart. I was thinking of another way to put it, but I just decided no, that would make the video longer. So that's it for this week's video, and the answer to last week's question, what was true or false that dinosaurs are more closely related to birds, it's true. Dinosaurs are more closely related to birds than reptiles. And this week's question, I'll put it here because I can't remember, but you'll see it here. That's it for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. Goodbye.